Welcome to the Injury Report, where we recap the injuries racked up by your favorite horror villains. Villains in horror films are notorious for their ability to withstand a great deal of damage. Things that would destroy an average person can be easily shrugged off if you're a sister-stalking lunatic. Once again, we're taking a look at Michael Myers. I'm Griff Robodanger, and in this injury report, I'm going to look at Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. This timeline picks up directly from Halloween 2, essentially ignoring the events of Halloween 4 through 6, as well as the injuries. In this video, I'm going to look at the various injuries, accidents, attacks, and wounds that Michael suffers in these films. Halloween H2O takes place 20 years after the events of Halloween 2. Michael Myers is back with one focus: finding and killing his sister Laurie, who has changed her identity and moved to California. Michael visits the home of Marion Chambers, Dr. Loomis's nurse pal from Halloween 1 and 2, to find intel, but Marion fights back by hitting Michael 3 times with a fire poker. She lands a shot to Michael's upper back, then another that seems to hit him in the chest, then another one to the back of his right shoulder. For whatever reason, she didn't go for the head. She then tries to smash the windows instead of just running for the exit. So she's killed by Michael. Don't worry, she'll be back in Halloween Kills, and I'm sure the next time she won't get killed making another stupid decision. Anyway, the action cuts to Summer Glen, California, where Laurie Strode has been working as the headmistress of Hillcrest Academy. Michael shows up at the academy and faces off against Laurie's teenage son John, who punches Michael in the face 3 times. The punches have little effect. Michael is ready to kill John, but John's girlfriend Molly clobbers Michael in the head with a rock. This attack knocks Michael to the ground for just long enough for the teens to escape and warn Laurie about Michael. Laurie and Michael have an epic battle, where Laurie bashes Michael over the head with a fire extinguisher. This marks the second time in the series Michael is attacked with a fire extinguisher. In part 2, he was blasted in the face with an extinguisher. Here, it's simply used as a melee weapon. Michael is whacked in the shoulder with a fire axe. Laurie swings the axe into Michael's left shoulder chest area. This should mess up his pec and make using his left arm rough, but before too long, he's flipping tables with it like he's on the Real Housewives of Haddonfield. Laurie then impales Michael with the California state flag. The flag goes right into his abdomen. In the first shot, it seems to get him in the gut, but when they pull back, it seems closer to his sternum. The flag breaks off, and Laurie throws the flagpole at Michael. It lands weakly in Michael's lap and has no real effect. Speaking of Michael's lap, Michael is kneed in the balls. Laurie knees her brother in his trick-or-treat sack. It doesn't seem to hurt him. If anything, he just sort of goons out for a second. Laurie later stabs and slices Michael multiple times with a pair of kitchen knives. With a knife in each hand, Laurie just starts wildly thrashing out at Michael. The shots all seem to land on his left shoulder and chest area. The scene is a bit dark and not all the attacks can be seen, but I counted 9 distinct slashy, stabby noises. It's also difficult to tell which shots are piercing his body and which are merely slashing. But the final shot is definitely a stab, as the knife is sticking in Michael's body as he stumbles backward, falling from the second-story balcony onto a table. It's a nasty fall, but if we're being honest here, I've seen bigger bumps in WWE Hell in the Cell matches. Now, if you were only to watch Halloween H2O, you might be led to believe that Michael is also ejected through the windshield of a van, thrown to the ground, plowed into with a van, crushed between a tree and a van, and decapitated. But at the beginning of Halloween Resurrection, we learn, psych, this wasn't Michael, but in fact, an unfortunate paramedic who had his throat slashed by Michael. Michael put his mask on this guy, which apparently gave him Michael's superhuman powers, I guess, because he manages to sit right up after being launched through the windshield at high velocity. But this all leads to 3 years later, where Laurie Strode has been institutionalized in Grace Anderson Sanitarium for her oopsie. Michael shows up at the sanitarium, makes his way to Laurie's room, and is seemingly about to kill her while she sleeps. But it was all a ruse. Laurie appears behind Michael and clubs Michael with a floor lamp. The lamp hits Michael in the back of his head. The attack knocks Michael to the floor, but he's back to his feet seconds later. Laurie has set up a trap for Michael on the roof. His leg is caught in a snare, pulling him off his feet, and Michael falls onto his back. A pretty minor bump for Michael. Anyway, he kills Laurie, and we jump to 1 year later, where a group of college students arrive at Michael Myers' childhood home to be participants in a new reality show called Dangertainment. But little do they know, Michael has returned home, and he's not happy about his new house guests, killing them off one by one. When the group finally realizes they are in real danger, they attempt to fight back. Michael is hit in the face with a video camera. This first-person melee attack staggers Michael, but not much else. Michael is hit in the shoulder with a rolling pin. At first glance, it seems like the rolling pin hits Michael in the face or neck, but the script says he was hit in the shoulder, and he's holding his shoulder afterward, so that's what I'm going with. Michael actually sells this injury harder than he did the knees and the nuts in the previous film. This attack is immediately followed with another brutal attack. Kitchen spices are thrown in Michael's eyes. According to the script, Michael has cayenne pepper thrown in his eyes. This house has been abandoned for 37 years at this point. You wouldn't think that old-ass pepper would still be potent, but Michael acts like he's been shot in the eyes again. Michael is kicked in the face. While Sarah is on the roof, Michael casually puts his head through the window, and Sarah casually kicks him in the face. She doesn't seem to get a lot of force behind the kick, but the impact still stuns Michael nonetheless. Michael is shoved to the floor. Freddy, aka Busta Rhymes, charges at Michael, knocking him to the ground. Michael springs back up and Busta roundhouse kicks Michael Myers in the face. Michael Myers seems unfazed by the hip-hop kung fu attack. Sarah jumps on Michael's back and strangles Michael with a cable. Sarah wraps a camera cord around Michael's neck and tries to choke him, but he quickly tosses her to the ground. With the cable still wrapped around Michael's neck, Busta Rhymes returns with a jump kick to Michael's chest, which sends Michael through the second-story window, hanging him by the neck from the cables. Okay, so this should be fatal, the hanging, not the jump kick, but Michael survives the attack, pursues Sarah up a ladder where she kicks Michael in the face again. This knocks Michael off the ladder, but not much else. Apparently her kicking skills are not quite at Busta Rhymes levels, so she has to bring power tools into the mix, slicing Michael multiple times in the chest with a chainsaw. The wounds don't seem too deep, as Michael manages to pull away each time before sustaining too much damage. The chainsaw eventually runs out of juice, and Sarah is forced to throw the dead chainsaw at Michael. She heaves the chainsaw at Michael, hitting him square in the chest. It staggers him, but doesn't knock him down. Busta eventually returns and hits Michael in the arm with a shovel. The shovel hits Michael's upper left arm, but the shovel head breaks off, leaving Busta with a makeshift bow staff, with which he hits Michael across the face twice. The wooden stick to the face barely phases Michael. Busta grabs a live electrical cable and electrocutes Michael's testicles. The high-voltage cable shocks Michael's crotch, sending him backwards into a mess of cables, where Michael is electrocuted and caught in a raging fire. As Michael is tangled up in the cables, a fire spreads through the garage. We don't actually see him burn, but when the paramedics retrieve Michael's body and we see him later at the morgue, his mask and hands appear to have fresh burns, but otherwise nothing too extensive. Also, his eyes pop open, so he's still alive. The end. Before I do the final rundown, I want to mention a few risky things Michael does that should lead to injuries and should never be attempted. Things like cutting the rope to a lift while standing underneath it, smashing through a two-way mirror, breaking through a window with his face. So here's the rundown of Michael's injuries from the H2O timeline. Michael is beaten with a fire poker, punched in the face, clubbed with a rock, kabonged with a fire extinguisher, chopped with an axe, impaled with a flagpole, hit by a broken flagpole, kneed in the nuts, stabbed and slashed, dropped from a balcony, clubbed with a lamp, dropped to the ground, smashed with a camera, smacked with a rolling pin, blinded by pepper, kicked in the face, shoved to the floor, karate kick to the face, strangled, kicked in the chest, knocked through a window, hung from a cord, kicked in the face again, chainsawed, hit with a flying chainsaw, hit with a shovel, hit in the face with a shovel handle, electrocuted in the crotch, electrocuted and burned. And there it is, the damage sustained by Michael Myers in Halloween H2O and Resurrection. Thanks for watching this episode of Injury Report. If you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss future videos. For now, here's some other stuff you might enjoy. And until next time, later, Danger Seekers.